Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I have some Pottery Barn inspired dupes for you today. This is a collaboration, and our hosts are Loli from Loli D's Creations and Katie from Lady Red Crafting. Today's guest host is me. Hello. Let's jump right on in. Let's jump right on into project number one, this Heritage American flag garland for $49.50. Mine is the exact same size. Let me show you what I did.
Okay, so the first thing I have this pack of 4x6 American flags, and they were $2.32 a packet, and there's 4 in there. So that gives us, 50 cents a flag, a little over 50 cents a flag. Yeah, $2.32. Yeah, so, and then I got 2 packs of those. And then I have the nautical rope. This is the floral garden from Dollar Tree. I've had this in my stash for some time. It's 9.5 feet. The one on the Pottery Barn website is 6 feet, so this is longer, and it had 7 flags, and I have 8, so I'm going to go ahead and just use the dimensions that I want for my porch. I'm going to go ahead and get these set up, and we'll get started. First thing I want to do is I'm going to take the flags off of these flag poles, and these are just plastic flag poles, and they are stapled on there. I'm going to go get a staple remover and see if that will work instead of using my pliers or my Cricut weeding tool. It looks like the staple remover will work here. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to clear the staples off of 7 of these flags so I can use the same amount that the Pottery Barn inspiration has. I also have my Cricut Easy Press, my mini press heating up so that I can press these to get some of the curl out of them. And then we will be back with the next step to this project. So I have these all pressed. They look beautiful. And no disrespect to the flag, my brother is in the service, and he just passed away last year and had over 5 tours to Afghanistan during those lovely years. So I love my country, but I also love the Americana look where it's just rustic. And the Pottery Barn has little dovetails at the bottom of the flag here. So I'm going to flip the flag to the back side, and I'm going to go ahead and line this up at the 6 1/4 inch mark, and the 2 inch, so it's 4 inches, so 2 inches is right in between our red stripe here in the middle. Right at that 5 inch mark, which would be right here on the 12 inch. So I'm going to come in with my pencil. I have it. Here it is. Come in with my pencil here, and I'm going to mark it at the 12 inch line right on that red line right there. And I'm going to do that with all of my flags. And then I'm going to go ahead and come in with my rotary cutter. I'm going to line up the corner of my flag right on up to my mark. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, right up to that center of that red. I'm going to line it up to the center of the red. And I can come in with my little scissors and snip off the excess right there. I don't want this to fray, so I'm being very careful. And now I'm going to do that with all of my flags before I move on to the next step. So I have all of my pieces trimmed with the banner as a banner shape. And I have my Vintage Photo Distressed Oxide. And I am going to just make this a little more rustic. That's just by coming in and hitting those edges with my Vintage Photo. And I'm going to do this on all of my flags. And I'm just going to distress it up just a little bit to make it look like it's just been around and has more of that Americana look. Once I have this done, I will come in and seal it with my Mod Podge so that I can hang it outside. So I'm going to hit both sides, and then I will Mod Podge both sides so that I can hang this outside and not worry about the ink running off of this and not worry about the flags actually fraying where I cut them. And you can see the difference right there of the two flags after I've distressed it a bit. So I'm going to get that done and Mod Podge over it, and I'll be back. So instead of Mod Podging this, I think I might just spray it with some acrylic sealer and see how that works. That way I can get this, go ahead and hang it up and spray it and let it dry out in the wind today, because it does have a bit of a breeze outside. But what I'm going to do is I have that Dollar Tree rope, and I'm going to go ahead and just take a portion of this. So I do all 8 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is there's 2, 4, 6, and then I want to go ahead and cut it down, probably about that 11-inch mark there, and then tie a knot in this other end. And I got my hot glue gun on here, so I'm going to add some glue to the end of that so it does not unravel on me. And then I'm going to fold that down, and I'm going to do the same type of wrap. 1, 2, and then I'm going to pull it on through. And have that same type of knot on this side. And then I will wrap some hot glue here to stop that from unraveling. All right. All right. Now I have 2 ends and about 6 feet in between. So I'm going to have my flags 9 inches apart, and I'm going to have 4.5 inches from my knot. So that's going to be 10.5. That's going to be right here. I'm going to add my hot glue right there. And I'm just going to set the one flag right on top there. Okay. I will take my, where is that? Fabri-Tac. And we're going to lay Fabri-Tac across that center. And then I will have hot glue at the end right there. I'm going to lay that right down. Press that down. Some clothespins to hold that right on there. And I'm going to go from the center to the center and measure 9. So that's 6. 6. There's 9. That's 15. So right here is going to be the center of my next one. I'm going to go ahead and lay my Fabri-Tac. Hot glue here, here, and here. Come back up, and we're going to lay that center of the flag right there on the center of that 15-inch mark. Come back in with another clothespin and clamp that on there and let that dry. We'll move that one down to that 6-inch mark again, and we're going to do the same thing with our next flag piece here, and I'm going to do this all the way across my rope. Now here's my last flag. Got this all measured out. I'm just going to come in with that Fabri-Tac again right along that edge. And then my hot glue. The hot glue is going to hold it there while this Fabri-Tac totally dries. And I will also clip it with my little clothespin here. got this on that 6-inch mark, and this is going to come in on that 15-inch right in the center of that flag. Grab another clothespin, hook it on there, and hold that down. And you will see this in the final review.
Jumping right on in with project number 2. Look at this juniper beaded glass plate stand. Now, I did the smaller one. The smaller one is 8.5 inches, and I did mine in crystal clear. And on the website, theirs is $35. Wait till you see what I came up with for this one.
So for this one, I have a Dollar Tree stand and the pedestal. And I mean, don't blink, guys. This one's not going to take but a minute. So this one I said don't blink, and apparently my battery died, so we blinked. This is a tray from Dollar Tree and a pedestal. I have my beacons 3-in-1 and an alcohol swab, and I cleaned my tray, and I cleaned the pedestal, and then I hot glued the center and beacon 3-in-1 the edge, set it down, and we're done. So the beacon's 3-in-1. I'm letting it dry and cure overnight, but gosh, I don't know how much the camera actually caught before it died.
Project number 3, this lumbar pillow cover, not a pillow, the pillow cover for $79.50. Okay, mine is a little smaller. However, mine cost me less than the cost of a Walmart bed pillow. What's that? Less than $4?
So for this dupe, I went through my fabric stash, and these are some fabric samples that were given to me. And these are 26 inches long, and they are 24 inches wide. So I'm going to make 2 lumbar pillows to go outside, and this is I'm just going to take this to my sewing machine right now, and I will stitch up all the way around my edges, leaving one side open to stuff my pillow. Now, the ones on Pottery Barn are actually pillow covers. I will be creating the whole pillow, not just the cover itself. And this is upholstery fabric, so this will be great on our front porch rocking chairs. So I'm going to get those stitched up, and then I will be back with you. Okay, so these have been taken to my sewing machine. They have been stitched all the way around, except for the portion here. You can see where I left this portion open here. These have been double stitched, back stitched along where the openings are. But we are now going to come in and turn these right side out. I did not remove any of the edging because this material frays pretty bad, and it already had a nice serge all the way around that, so I didn't have to mess with any of that. This was one of the easiest that I've done. So I'm just going to take this, and we're just going to flip this back to the right side. I can just stick my hand in there. It's big enough for that. I'm just going to grab that end, and we're going to pull that right back out through the hole I left open. And I'm going to take an inexpensive Walmart pillow, and that's what I'm going to stuff these with after I get this flipped right side out. Takes a little bit over those corners a little bit more. Super simple project. If you don't have a sewing machine, you can use an iron-on seal where it's a tape that you can lay on there and press and it will seal it. You can use Fabri-Tac, which is another good way, so you can glue it. You can use hot glue, but I wouldn't suggest using that outside or for anything that's necessarily going to be for, long purposes. If I wanted to, I could have just added a zipper to one end and just created a zipper closure and put an insert in there, but I was just going to create the pillow itself. I'm going to use a pair of scissors closed. I'll stick my hand back inside the bag. with the scissors. And I will use the tip of those scissors to press my corners out to where they need to be. Look at that. We'll do the same for the corners up here. Those actually look pretty good. Yep. Pull my hand back out. And then there we have our pillow cover that just needs to be stuffed now. Once we have it stuffed, you can glue it, sew it, fuse it, whatever you want to do to close that end up. Do the same thing with this one. I did save the tags that came off of these, so you can see what they are. Wesley Hall Incorporated, Stefani and Palladia, blue and gold, and cypress. So this is the blue and gold one. This is the cypress one. So each of these pillows on the Pottery Barn website were $75. These are going to cost me $4 for 2. So I think that is a pretty good savings on these lumbar pillows for my porch. Now I may just go in and get some of the Scotch Guard for outdoors. That will help waterproof this in case I get any rain on my front porch and won't ruin my pillows. You also could stuff these with plastic if you didn't want fabric out there. You can use grocery bags, whatever you want to put in there if you don't want to use pillow fluff or regular stuffing that you may have on hand. You can see here I just sewed them all where those have matching lines all the way around this pillow. So I will get these stuffed, stitched, and you will see what they look like on my porch.
Project number 4. Oh my goodness. The small vase on this one is $99. Now my vase came in at $1, $1. Yep, $1.
Okay, so for this one, I have a flower vase here that was gifted to me with some flowers from my husband. And I went ahead and I just cleaned it out. I had some fish glass in there. I have some rope from Dollar Tree. I have some plaster paint. And the Pottery Barn one, the small one, is 10.5 inches high, and mine is 7 3/4. So it is smaller, but the one that's 10.5 inches high is $99. And the 15-inch high one is $119. So, you know, even if we knocked another 20 bucks off of that, that's still 80 bucks, you know, for one that's this small. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe the outside down with rubbing alcohol pad here, just to make sure it's clean. I cleaned it with Windex, but in order to make sure that my paint will stick properly onto this vase, I'm going to make sure it's cleaned and wiped completely down on the outside with the alcohol wipe, so I can paint my plaster all over this vase. I'm going to go ahead and wipe the can down because that's going to be the one I'm doing after this. They're both going to need this Waverly plaster, so I'm just going to paint them both at the same time. So I'm just going to get this cleaned. This is going to use the plaster paint and of course the rope as well. So I just wanted to make sure I had that cleaned and ready to go. I'm going to just use a sponge to daub on the plaster paint all over my vase. And I'm just going to daub this on, leaving texture in this paint. I'll do one coat, and then I'll come back and see what I need for the next one. So here is the first coat on the vase, and I'm only doing one coat on the can because that's going to have a cover of the rope on it. So I'm just going to set that aside to let that totally dry. And I'm going to come in and put another coat on the glass vase, Chalk paint is nice because it's nice and thick, and you'll have that texture with your sponge on there, and it will cover a multitude of sins on your project. Okay, so my vase is dry. This is 2 coats sponged on of my plaster paint. I went inside just a little bit. I have 53 inches of this rope, and I probably will not need that much, but I wanted to make sure I had enough to start with. The first thing I'm going to do is come to the middle of my rope here, and I'm going to get my Beacons 3-in-1. My hot glue is still hot, and I'm going to start this right about the lower part of the belly of this jar right there. And I'm just going to lay my rope right down on in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of hot glue to tack it. And this is going to wrap around almost evenly to the back side of my vase. Another little tab of hot glue there. And then what I want to do is this is going to wrap around the back. So I'm going to lay it this direction. I'll put some more beacons on here. Bring that right on up. And then I'm just going to dab a bit of glue there, hot glue, just to hold that down while that beacons dries. And we're going to pull that up. I'm going to use the beacons to come right around again. And pull that right on up. And then I'm going to dab a little hot glue again right there to hold that into place. Now these two are going to crisscross and almost come up about the same side. So I'm going to use another bit of beacons, bringing this up just a bit. And then I'll tack it with some hot glue right about there. And I want to do the same thing on the other side. And if you look right on that seam, I'm going to come up from the bottom of my rope to the top of my rope is going to be just at 1 1/4. So right there to about right there. And I'm going to lay that glue on there. And then a little bit of hot glue right there. Hold that in place. Now at the front of our jar, we're just going to crisscross these in front. Crisscross just like that. So I'm going to dab that glue right here. Some more fabric tack on top of that. Right at that crisscross point. I'm going to come in with just a bit of hot glue underneath this point here. Hold that down. And another piece right here and hold that down. Now I'm just going to wrap this up and around and bring it to the back side. So we will use that beacons once again. So I'm going to lay my beacons down. Lay that in. Now I can bring it around to the back. Dab that hot glue. And now we're going to just join these pieces up on the back here. So I'm going to cut this piece at an angle. We're going to lay down our glue right across that space there, right there. And then I'm just going to come in on the top of that and cut that at another angle going down this direction. Using that same beacons. onto the top of that piece and connect them right there. And we are going to let this dry overnight, and then we'll come back and we will get this painted. Vase, I am going to now come in with my chalk paint and go over the rope because I need that rope to be the same color as the vase. So that's what we're going to do right now.
And our last project, project number 5, comes in on sale for $62.99. Mine cost me some paint and a Dollar Tree rope when they were still $1. All right, my loves, here we go. This is the can, which is going to be the candle that I showed you on the Pottery Barn site. I'm going to take this Dollar Tree rope, and I got this, it's 13 and a half feet, and I got this for $1. And yeah, so you know how long I've had this one. I'm just going to take my Beacons 3-in-1 and a little hot glue, and I'm going to lay that down and tack it as I go all the way around this can, making sure that it is covered and glued all the way on there. The Beacons 3-in-1 will do a permanent hold on this, and the hot glue will hold this in place while that beacon dries for this project. Once that has dried, I'm going to come in with a lighter here, and I'm going to try to get as many as those little fuzzies off that I can, because I'm actually going to paint over this with that Waverly chalk paint. And the Pottery Barn one looks more like a ceramic, or if I would have dipped my rope in like plaster of Paris and put it on there, I think it would have been fine. But having those hairs on there does not give it that finished pottery look. So I went ahead and burned those, and I'm coming in now with my paint and covering up all that rope. The next day, I came back in with some more of that paint, and I'm putting a second coat all over this, trying to get more into those creases and crevices here on my can. Now I have my white wax, my Waverly white wax, and this is going to help seal in everything on this can. And that way I can set it outside and I don't have to worry about the paint or the rope or anything with that can. Okay, let's take a look at everything. The flag, theirs was $49.50, mine $5. The tray, $35 to mine at $3. The pillows, $79.50, mine at $4 for 2. The pottery, $99, mine at $2. Here's the total of theirs and mine and the savings. Their total was $325.99, and mine was $15. That gives you a saving of $310.99. I think this was a bargain for me to do. Jumping right on into our final reveal, there are the flag, that's the flag banner, and of course the pillows on that, our rocking chairs on the front porch. And I think they turned out wonderful. I mean, they are the perfect size for my porch. The can, I just put an LED light in the middle of it. That's what marked it right on up to the $3 mark. Otherwise, that is so inexpensive to make.
And then we, of course, have the vase. I just put 2 tall beeswax candles in there, just sitting in there. And we have our tray that I made. So I think these all just turned out beautiful. I really, really do. I think they did justice.
Thank you for joining me on the Pottery Barn inspired collaboration. And don't forget, our hosts' channels will be linked in my description box below, along with the playlist to the other creators joining this collaboration. These would make wonderful Mother's Day gifts. Just look through the website and see what you can come up with your stash to create on a budget. As always, anything I can find, I will link in my description box below so that you can purchase any supplies that I have used today. I do get a small commission because I am an Amazon affiliate, and it's no extra cost to you. As always, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.